I've been very fortunate through the years to, well, introduce to people and induct into the Hall of Fame a number of friends and acquaintances, but I'm going to ask you all to bear with me because this is probably the most difficult one I've ever had to do. We know him as the King, we know him as TC, we know him as a husband, we know him as Uncle Teddy, we also know him as a friend. That's the side that race fans sitting in the grandstands may not appreciate. Ted Christopher does not belong in the Hall of Fame. He belongs right here. He deserves to still be racing, still be treating us to incredible feats in a car, whatever it is. But God decided that he was going to take Teddy way too soon. He left a giant hole in our hearts. I can't think of another day that I was as saddened, maybe with the exception of losing my best friend, my dad. And for those of you that still have that hole in your heart, consider this. Over the years, you'll learn just now how not to step into the hole. And instead, you'll go to the edge and you'll celebrate. When we said goodbye to Teddy, I said at his funeral, and I think I am one that is unquestionably authorized to say this. He was A.J. Foyt. He was Richard Petty. He was Richie Evans, and yes, he was Dale Earnhardt. And he also had a little bit of Adam Sandler in him. You see, Teddy was brought up the hard way. When he showed up at Stafford Motor Speedway, I mean, I'm going to be very honest with you, and Michael, I wish you had known this. He wasn't very good. In fact, your dad was better than he was. But along the way, just like so many other things that Ted Christopher would tackle, he was not going to take no for an answer. He was going to figure out what it took to get it done and then add 100% to that. I don't care whether it was coming up with special applications for giant-sized transmissions or going out and beating the very best. Anybody that ever worked with him will tell you he was a mean old son of a bitch sometimes. That octave in his voice, especially if the car wasn't operating right, would go from about my timbre to, "Hey, what's going on? There's something wrong here." But never once did Teddy Christopher settle for anything but the very best. Now, he could be harsh with his with his fellow competitors. I think everybody that ever raced against Teddy has a Teddy Christopher story. They're legendary. When I traveled around, even at the cup level, people would come up and share with me a Teddy Christopher story. But I want to share with you one that's very personal to me. You see, I wasn't very good as a race car driver. I was pretty darn good on dirt, though. Teddy, on the other hand, sucked at dirt. So I had a couple of mini sprints and decided I gave Teddy a call and says, "Hey, you want to come play? Well, they built an indoor facility in South Windsor, and you can come up and be my teammate." And so he shows up to make sure that he didn't have to pay for anything, because that also was Teddy. And we're out there in the first heat race, and he's starting on the pole, and I'm starting on the outside pole. They drop the green flag. As we go down the backstretch, Teddy turns right into me. We get done with the race, I come in and say, "Hey, I'm your car owner, dude. What'd you do that for?" He said, "How'd it feel?" Then he called me a non. Those of you that are racers that have been referred to that way, you understand. He's a Weekly Series national champion. He's a Whelen Modified Tour champion. He has all-time wins at Stafford, at Thompson. You name it. Everything that Ted Christopher ever strapped himself into, he stayed with it until not only did he conquer it, but he excelled at it. Probably one of the most meaningful moments for me was at Watkins Glen, New York, when Teddy Christopher strapped himself into a car that I absolutely grew up just admiring. It was called the Brumos Porsche team from Jacksonville, Florida. No team had ever won the 24 Hours of Daytona as many times as this. And there's Teddy Christopher with Hurley Haywood in that red, white, and blue Peter Gregg-based car with the number 59 on it. And I think maybe only me and Teddy appreciated what that meant, because what you may not know about Teddy, besides his, his unquestionable ability in an SK modified, in a modified, in an open wheel modified, he had an abiding passion for MotoGP motorcycles, an abiding passion for Formula One. He also had an abiding passion for ice cream. He also had an abiding passion for his nieces and nephews. You know, a driver might be mad at him, but when he got home, well, if Ryder was there, if Quinn was there. I remember when he told me he'd met Quinn and he was going to get married to Quinn, and I said, "What took you so long?" He said, "Well, I had to make sure it was the right one." Well, he found the right one. But on that September day when I got the phone call, I lost a brother. You see, for me, Teddy Christopher was more than a competitor. I don't care where I went, no matter what I did, or if I was fussing and feuding or having a problem, when I go to Stafford, or if I went to the shop in Plainville, if I showed up in 5 minutes, Teddy would make me laugh and forget all my troubles. The last time I talked to Teddy was the Friday night before we lost him. And if those of you that don't know, at the time, he was in my brother Mark's doghouse. And he had won the week before and thanked Mark and Lisa because practice was overrated. So I went to him and he says, "How'd you like that in Victory Lane?" And I says, "You have a way of twisting it, don't you?" And he says, "Well, you know how I feel. I love you guys." And I did get the chance to say to him, "I love you too, old man." He doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame. Someday he should be, but I never anticipated that it would be today. Ladies and gentlemen, the newest member of the Hall of Fame, he is the king, TC, Ted Christopher.
First, I would like to congratulate all the inductees today. It is a well-deserved honor. Teddy would have so much appreciated this honor. Racing was his life, and he did it with passion and commitment. On behalf of myself, his family, friends, and fans who loved his style and sass, thank you for this recognition. I know he is here with us, and he's smiling.